What if I told you that America had the blueprint for unlimited clean energy in the 1960s, successfully tested it for 4 years, and then deliberately chose to bury it? While China just achieved a breakthrough that could reshape global energy markets for the next century, the United States is still catching up to technology we invented and abandoned 50 years ago. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This is about documented political decisions that may have cost America its energy future. The story begins in 1965 at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, where American scientists were running what would become one of the most successful and overlooked experiments in nuclear history. The molten salt reactor experiment wasn't just another research project. It was proof that thorium, not uranium, could be the foundation of truly safe, abundant nuclear power. For 4 years, this reactor operated flawlessly, demonstrating technology that could have revolutionized how America powered itself. Dr. Alvin Weinberg, the brilliant physicist who directed Oak Ridge for nearly 2 decades, understood what this meant. Thorium is 3 times more abundant than uranium on Earth. A single ton of thorium contains as much energy as 3.5 million tons of coal. Unlike uranium reactors, thorium reactors can't melt down. The physics simply won't allow it. The waste they produce becomes safe in 300 years instead of 10,000. Most importantly for national security, thorium reactors are nearly impossible to use for weapons production. But here's where the story takes a troubling turn. In 1972, President Nixon's administration fired Weinberg, specifically because he kept advocating for thorium technology over the administration's preferred reactor program based in California. The official reason given reveals everything you need to know about the priorities at the time. Congressman Chet Hollyfield told Weinberg directly, "If you are concerned about the safety of reactors, then I think it may be time for you to leave nuclear energy." Think about that statement. The concern for reactor safety was seen as disqualifying for a nuclear scientist. Within a year of Weinberg's firing, the entire molten salt thorium program was scheduled for destruction. All the research papers from the successful experiments were scheduled for destruction. They were only saved decades later when a former NASA engineer discovered them gathering dust in storage and recognized their value.
Meanwhile, the California-based reactor program that replaced thorium research accumulated over $700 million in cost overruns by 1973, equivalent to more than $5 billion today, before being canceled due to weapons proliferation concerns. The numbers behind this decision reveal something fascinating about American energy policy. In 2022, the oil and gas industry spent $124 million on lobbying efforts, while the entire nuclear industry managed only $1.56 million. That's a 79-to-1 spending disadvantage. This isn't coincidence. It's strategic. Since the 1970s, fossil fuel companies have systematically funded organizations specifically to oppose nuclear power development. The American Petroleum Institute didn't hide this strategy. They created fake grassroots organizations across 16 states specifically to oppose nuclear plant subsidies. Major environmental organizations received substantial funding from oil and gas companies. The Sierra Club alone received over $25 million from Chesapeake Energy to promote natural gas as an alternative to nuclear power. Bloomberg Philanthropies has spent $80 million since 2020 specifically funding groups that opposed nuclear energy development. This wasn't about environmental concerns. This was about market competition. When Finland's newest nuclear reactor started operation, electricity prices dropped by 75% overnight. Nuclear power operates at a 92.7% capacity factor compared to petroleum's 13.2%. For fossil fuel companies, nuclear power, especially cheap, safe thorium nuclear power, represents an existential economic threat. But while America was abandoning thorium research due to political pressures and industry lobbying, other nations were paying attention. China has systematically studied every declassified document from America's thorium program. In April 2024, Chinese scientists achieved something American researchers demonstrated in 1969 but never pursued. They successfully completed the first online fuel reloading of a thorium molten salt reactor. The implications are staggering. China's experimental thorium reactor in the Gobi Desert has been operating continuously since 2024. Chinese officials estimate their thorium reserves could power the country for 60,000 years. By 2030, they plan to have commercial thorium reactors providing electricity at costs that could undercut every other energy source on the planet.
The Chinese project leader explicitly acknowledged building on American research, stating, "The U.S. left its research publicly available, waiting for the right successor. We were that successor." Meanwhile, the United States still lacks regulatory frameworks to permit commercial thorium reactors. American companies interested in thorium technology face years of regulatory uncertainty, while Chinese reactors are already approaching commercial deployment. This represents more than just a missed opportunity. It's a strategic energy and economic advantage that America developed and then handed to a geopolitical competitor. The economic implications extend far beyond electricity costs. Thorium reactors could potentially produce electricity for 1.4 cents per kilowatt hour, compared to 6.7 cents for current nuclear plants and over 4 cents for natural gas and coal. This isn't just about cheaper electricity. It's about industrial competitiveness. Countries with access to extremely cheap, reliable energy will have massive advantages in manufacturing, computing, and every energy-intensive industry. India has maintained thorium research since the 1950s, driven by large domestic thorium reserves and limited uranium access. Their three-stage nuclear program specifically aims to utilize thorium technology. Private companies worldwide are now investing in thorium development despite decades of neglect. Copenhagen Atomics has raised significant investment for containerized thorium reactors. Dutch company Thorizon raised €12.5 million specifically for thorium reactor development. The pattern becomes clear when you examine the timeline. America successfully demonstrated thorium technology in the 1960s. Political interference killed the program in the 1970s. Fossil fuel industry lobbying prevented its revival for decades. Now, in 2024, other nations are commercializing technology that America invented and abandoned. This isn't about assigning blame, it's about understanding consequences. The United States faces critical decisions about its energy future while dealing with aging electrical grid infrastructure, climate commitments, and increasing energy demands from data centers and electric vehicles. Thorium technology could address all these challenges simultaneously, but America no longer leads in its development. Recent U.S. Department of Energy reports acknowledge molten salt reactors as one of 3 advanced reactor systems to watch by 2030, the same technology Weinberg perfected 60 years ago.
American companies and researchers are working to revive thorium development, but they're now competing against nations that maintained consistent investment in research programs. The thorium story illustrates how short-term political decisions and industry influence can derail superior technologies for decades. It raises fundamental questions about how America makes strategic technology choices and whether current decision-making processes adequately consider long-term national interests versus immediate political and commercial pressures. As China prepares to deploy thorium reactors commercially and other nations advance their programs, Americans might ask, what other transformative technologies are we overlooking or abandoning due to political interference or industry lobbying? The thorium case suggests that superior technologies eventually prevail, but the nation that develops and deploys them first gains substantial competitive advantages that can last for generations.